You want people to notice you. You want to be seen, appreciated, recognized. But the moment someone gets too close, you pull back. You share, then delete. You speak, then regret it. You open up, then feel exposed. It's confusing. Because how can you crave attention and fear being known at the same time? Visual. Person standing under soft light, slowly stepping back into shadow. At first, it doesn't look like a pattern. It just feels like inconsistency. Some days you want to express yourself. Post something meaningful. Say what you actually think. And for a moment, it feels right. But later, something shifts. You reread what you said. You imagine how others might interpret it. You start editing yourself in your own head. And suddenly, what felt natural now feels risky. So you pull back, not completely. Just enough to feel safe again. Visual, cursor hovering over a delete button. This doesn't just happen online. It shows up in conversations. You might joke, share, even open up a little. But when the conversation starts becoming real, when someone asks something deeper, you redirect. You soften your answer, or you change the topic. Not because you have nothing to say, but because saying it would reveal something real. And that's where the discomfort begins. Over time, this creates a strange identity. You become someone who is visible, but not fully known, present, but controlled. You allow attention, but only on your terms. And slowly, you start splitting yourself. There's the version of you that is shown, carefully shaped, filtered, safe. And then there's the version you keep hidden. More complex, more honest, but also more vulnerable. Visual. Two overlapping silhouettes, slightly misaligned. Psychology calls this a form of self-presentation management. But underneath that, there's something deeper. A conflict between two needs, the need for connection and the need for protection, and both are real. You crave attention because attention signals belonging. From an evolutionary perspective, being noticed meant being included, and being included meant survival. So your brain rewards attention. It releases dopamine, a sense of validation, a signal that you matter, but being known is different. Because being known means being understood or misunderstood, accepted or rejected. Visual. Abstract brain animation with two pathways lighting up. This is where the tension begins. Your brain doesn't treat all visibility the same. Surface level attention feels safe. It's controlled, predictable. But deeper visibility, that feels uncertain. And uncertainty activates a different system, the threat system. Now your brain starts asking different questions. What if they judge me? What if they see something I don't like about myself? What if I can't control how I'm perceived anymore? And just like that, the same thing you wanted starts to feel dangerous. Visual. Light slowly flickering between bright and dim. This pattern usually begins earlier than you think. Not from one big moment, but from repeated small ones. Moments where being fully yourself didn't feel safe. Maybe you were misunderstood. Maybe your emotions were dismissed. Maybe you were only valued when you fit a certain role. So your brain learned something subtle. Attention is good, but only if it's controlled, only if it's safe. Only if it doesn't reveal too much. And that belief stayed. Even when the environment changed. Even when the risk wasn't real anymore. Visual. Child sitting quietly, watching others interact. So now, as an adult, you recreate the same pattern. You move toward attention, then away from being known. It feels like choice, but it's actually conditioning. This is where the reframe matters. You're not contradictory. You're adaptive. Your brain is trying to balance two needs, connection and safety. And it does that by giving you partial exposure, just enough to feel seen, but not enough to feel vulnerable. Visual. Person standing behind a translucent glass wall, but here's the cost. Partial connection never fully satisfies, because being seen is not the same as being understood. So even when you get attention, something still feels missing, and you can't quite explain why. That's the open loop your mind keeps trying to close. Why does attention feel good but never enough? The answer lies in how your brain processes social risk. There are two key systems involved: the reward system and the threat detection system. The reward system is driven by dopamine. It responds to attention, likes, recognition. It pushes you outward, but the threat system, centered around the amygdala, is focused on emotional safety. It scans for rejection, embarrassment, loss of control. It pulls you inward. Visual. Two opposing arrows moving in different directions. When both systems activate at the same time, you feel stuck, pulled in two directions. This creates what psychologists call an approach avoidance conflict. You want something, but you also fear it. And because fear is stronger than reward, avoidance usually wins, but not completely, just enough to keep the cycle going. Visual, looped animation of a circle repeating, without forcing yourself or shutting down completely. It starts with understanding the difference between attention and exposure, because your brain currently treats them as the same. But they're not, and separating them changes everything. The first step is controlled honesty, not full vulnerability, not oversharing, just slightly more truth than you're used to. Because your brain learns safety through gradual exposure. If you jump too far, the threat system activates. But if you move slowly, you expand your comfort zone without triggering panic. For example, instead of sharing something perfectly polished, share something slightly imperfect. A thought that isn't fully formed, and notice what happens. Most of the time, nothing bad. And your brain updates its prediction. Visual, small ripple expanding across calm water. The second step is decoupling identity from reaction. Right now, how people respond feels like a reflection of who you are, but it's not. It's a reflection of how your expression was received in that moment, by that person, in that context. Your brain simplifies this into "this is me," but that's inaccurate, so you need to remind yourself. This is data, not definition. For example, if someone doesn't respond the way you expected, instead of internalizing it, you observe it. What happened here? That creates distance. And distance reduces emotional intensity. Visual, notebook with one sentence written. This is data, not identity. The third step is tolerating small discomfort, not eliminating it. Because discomfort is part of being known. Your goal isn't to feel completely safe. It's to realize that you can handle not feeling safe for a moment. This shifts your nervous system. Because now, discomfort is not a signal to retreat. It's just a signal that something real is happening. For example, saying something honest in a conversation, and sitting with the silence that follows. Not filling it, not correcting it, just allowing it. That builds emotional tolerance. Visual. Person sitting quietly, subtle tension in posture. The fourth step is narrowing the gap between your inner and outer self. Right now, that gap is wide. And maintaining it takes energy. The more you align what you feel with what you show, the less effort it takes to exist. This doesn't mean revealing everything. It means reducing the distance, even slightly. For example, If you usually hide your opinion, express a small part of it. Not all, just enough to reduce the gap. Over time, this creates coherence, and coherence feels stable. Visual, two shapes slowly merging into one. The final step is redefining what it means to be known. Right now, being known feels like exposure, like being fully seen without control. But it doesn't have to be that. Being known can be selective, layered, gradual. You choose what to reveal and when. That sense of control matters because your brain doesn't fear being known. It fears losing control over how it's known. And once you understand that, the fear becomes more specific, more manageable. Visual door opening slowly, light entering in layers. All of this leads to one simple idea. You don't actually fear attention. You fear what attention might uncover. And once you see that, the pattern starts to make sense. You're not inconsistent. You're navigating an internal conflict between wanting to be seen and wanting to stay safe. Visual, waves moving slowly, steady rhythm. So the shift isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about integrating both, allowing yourself to be seen while still feeling grounded, not all at once, but step by step, moment by moment, because the goal isn't full exposure. It's honest presence, and that's something your brain can learn, gently, over time. Visual. Person walking slowly into soft light, not fully but comfortably. And maybe that's what you've been searching for. Not more attention, but a way to exist without hiding from yourself, because being seen by others matters. But being known by yourself, that's where it starts.